that would be it. And you finally had to, if you had A and you had C, you had to figure out what B was on your own because B doesn't exist. So mind you that you only have 3 Ku images. We don't know what these images represent. We do know that they were part of a temple that was created in commemoration of Kamehameha's being healed of the plague on Oahu. So this was a prayer. This temple was a prayer in thanks of surviving that where so many, his brothers died, his children died. I mean, so many chiefs died in that plague on Oahu in the early 1800s. This was that. So we know that they are benign Ku, but we don't know which ones they are. We have no idea. The thing is that now, if you know the language of the Ku, the names that I have put on here, then if you were to create, we have the aspects of Ku, mind you. We've got a list of Ku. I've got like about 100 Ku names defining different aspects. So as an artist, you would say, well, okay, I want to do Ku Ikapono. I want to do Ku, he who puts things in balance, he who puts things in its proper place, he the giver. I want to create him. Having the iconography, how would I create him? So then that would be up to the artist again to use that list and then create him. Now see, this is the problem that most carvers today who are very adept at carving, they know how to use those tools. They are very skilled, but they don't know the language. So they carve Ku with the mouth and the eyes and the headdress, and this is my Ku. But who is it? And why did you use the... There's a a Cherokee artist who did this beautiful painting of this chief, and he put Pawnee, now Cheyenne. He put Cheyenne moccasins on a Cherokee chief, and so the Cheyenne said, "How come you put somebody else's, the Cheyenne moccasins on this Cherokee chief?" So it's basically what happens in the art here. So then he knew that was his lesson. So every time he created from a historical perspective, he made sure that he had all of the elements. All of the elements were correct. This is what Rocky does. Makes sure that all of the elements are correct. And he's had to correct himself over the years, It's an ongoing thing. I mean, we are perennial and forever students of this culture. Because when you find something, what you realize is what is not there. Not what you found. Oh, look what I found. Oh, wow, how fabulous. It's like, oh my God, but how much more is there out there that I don't know? I found this little one component. What is missing? A lot is missing. And sometimes it's only a best guess. And this comes from my kumo. Well, Lucia, best guess. And she's an intellect. So there you go with the A and the B. We have a very treasured Professor Sidney Moku-Mead from Aotearoa from New Zealand. He's the one who taught us. If you have A and you have C and you're smart and you're well educated, you should know what B is. Well, that takes some knowing. And that takes many years of finding out what B is, because B could be anything then. And it's like, I'm going to put just anything. No, it's got to make sense to me. So I have a rule of thumb. Anytime I come to a conclusion for something, if it's my conclusion and if it's my opinion of what I think the fact might be, I'll say that. If it is something that I found and I have 3 confirmed facts delineating that one component, I will say that that's what it is. So we did a book together called The Daughters of Haumea. 20 women, 20 different occupations, dispelling the fallacies of women being the secondary and second-class citizen, subservient to man. This is untrue. Just because she was eating in a different place, she couldn't eat with men. She couldn't do the things that they did. Well, they couldn't do the things that she did. They forget to tell you that part. They couldn't eat at her house. She couldn't eat at his house. he couldn't eat at her house. So it was a very balanced society. They believed in the dual polarity. How many of us even know what the hell the dual polarity is today? I mean, do we realize that everything is male? There is femaleness and maleness in absolutely every aspect of life. And this is what they recognized early on. So they developed a society based on that. Solely on that. Everything else is just frills. Basically, the foundation of their culture was the balance of the male and the female principle. Equally in everything. But the first guys that came over here, when they had that microphone going around asking people questions, yeah, they didn't ask those very important questions. So they didn't know what women did. They just saw them laying around and they figured, well, that's it. That's what they do. They have children and lay around and weave, and that's about it. Well, they did everything. They did ritual. They did dance. They created poetry. They created art. They created the art of lovemaking. They created basically everything that enhanced a man's life. So our book, The Daughters of Haumea, deals with all of those many different subjects. Because today, even the literature that you'll pick up anywhere, and do not confuse the monarchical period with the pre-contact period, because they are two very different periods. The monarchical period is a Christian period. And by that time, everything that came before that was destroyed. Philosophy, concepts, precepts, ritual, ceremony, the understanding of the dual polarity, everything was completely washed away. And within one or two generations, washed from the mind. So what you have today is, like my husband likes to put it, a remnant of a remnant of a remnant. And there are a few of us who are trying to put back a little bit at a time, and we realize that it is a little bit at a time. It is something that's going to take many generations to create a full-bodied culture again, where the Maoli people believe in their old philosophy and not be afraid of it. The last lecture that we gave at the Bishop Museum dealt with the disc that I don't have. And after that, we went into the gallery where I had the contemporary exhibit, and then we went into the main Hawaiian hall where it had, the main hall had the 3 ku displayed. So I could see the place was packed. I could see that in the audience there was this mother and daughter, and they were very much taken by, Rocky's a very passionate speaker. His eyes bug out of his head. I mean, he's right there in your face. So you could see that they were very taken by what he was saying. When we went into the gallery with the contemporary works, all of a sudden we see her running out like a bat out of hell. And it was like she was crying and crying and crying. And she put something in my hand. She said, "This is for you, this is for you. We can't stay, we can't stay." And her daughter was pulling her and pulling. And she had this fear in her face. "We can't stay, we can't handle this, we can't handle this." And she just ran out. Both of them ran out. And we're just standing there like, fear. This was the great brainwash. Fear. There are many Hawaiians who still fear their culture. I have a very dear friend who lives in Hilo, Pua Kanaka Ole Kanahele, who told me one time, hearing the story about Rocky and the kids, that the parents don't want the kids to listen to him or to learn from him in school. She says, "Why are our people afraid of our things? Those are our things. Why should we fear our things?" And the reason those things are feared is because they've been misinterpreted by the others. So they put the fear in you that those things that of pre-contact times are demonic. They will destroy you. So that fear, believe me, stuck. with some people, that's all there is. And so what they do is a very peripheral, surface part of the culture. They just take the very top part, the crafts, the civic club, doing a feather lay, doing hula, that those kinds of things that don't offend that which was given to you by the other. So that is fear. But this woman, it's the first time I saw anything that powerful. The fear in this woman's eyes. Her daughter was just like livid green. She was so frightened. She couldn't get out of there fast enough because they went in to see the coup. Now, when we all went in to see the coup, it was like, oh my God, it's fabulous. How wonderful. Not only the artistry in creating them, each of them a perfection in their own way, but you just feel the energy that the artist left in the imagery. You could feel it. And they were absolutely beautiful. And, heaven only knows who they were. What aspect of nature did they represent? Because every image either represents an aspect in nature or an ancestor. Period. And they knew, and they recorded, and they documented every aspect in nature. Everything had a name. The smallest blade of grass to the stars in the furthest heaven. Everything was named. My grandson is going to get it. You better stop. Everybody's going to be looking at you. So with this great respect, that's the fulfillment in life, nature-based. And they realized that they were part and parcel of that blade of grass, the waterfall, the trees, the ocean, the fish, the sky. There is a whole story up in the sky. If you read about Maui Akalana, no, don't read about Maui Akalana because they talk about misrepresentation. Maui Akalana is part of Hercules and Ophiuchus and Sagittarius. It's a huge constellation in the sky. And there's an incredible story about this constellation moving westward in search of his father, who then is the tail in Cassiopeia. A beautiful, beautiful story. But they don't tell it to you that way. It's what we are left with is the fairy tale. You are not left with astronomy or mathematics, which the Hawaiians were very, very efficient in. But they're up there. You have it up there and down here. As above, so below. What time do I have? Is it Pau, darling? Are there any more questions? Okay, so what we're going to do is go to all of the temples on this island first, find that book by Stokes. He's got every single one of them up to yes. Heiau's on the big island? Nah. Heiau's on the island of Hawaii, I think. That's another term that it's very difficult to do away with, big island. Those Hawaiians who are really Hawaiian, those Hawaiians who are Maoli, there's a difference between Hawaiian and Maoli, now, today. Hawaiians call themselves, those Hawaiians are now calling this Hawaii Maoli. Maoli. That is the name of the race. Maoli is the name of the race. Is the name of all Polynesians is Maoli. Hawaiian was introduced in 1845. After Kamehameha conquered the islands, and legislature went into this process. They said, oh dear, let's use something that everyone will recognize. Oh, let's call the islands Hawaiian Islands, and the people who live on them Hawaiians. But that's not the way it was in pre-contact times. Each island had its own identity. And each district within had its own identity. The islands were known as Kapai Aina. They were not known as the Hawaiian Islands. So today, those young people who are now trying to fashion order out of disorder are now calling themselves Hawaii Maoli. To differentiate themselves from the Maori. So now I call them Aotea Maori. So Aotearoa Maori, Hawaii Maoli, because all Polynesians are Kanaka Maoli. So, you know that Hawaiian is a new term, right? 1845. To find that book, just go under Stokes. I think that's the only book that really is out there by him. It's not that he's got dozens of books, it's just one book. And you know, we brought several of our Daughters of Haumea book for those people who don't have. We don't have them in the bookstores on the island of Hawaii. We have them only on one bookstore in Hilo, and I have a problem with people constantly write me, where can I get the book, where can I get the book? So if you should want to acquire one of our books, we do have some with us. So if there are any other questions, I thank you. You've been a lovely, lovely audience. Thank you for the questions. Go out, learn, ask questions. I really believe in asking questions. Take a pencil and a pen and a piece of paper. Don't be ashamed. Don't be shy. Ask, ask, ask. That's the only way you'll learn. Mahalo nui.